4 appearance. So these two men, they've never faced off against each other as head coaches, but tonight is the night. Much respect. They said it's going to be pretty cool out here to see each other across the sideline.
And we are glad to be here courtside to see it. Thank you, Holly. The Gonzaga Bulldogs there but white. The Villanova Wildcats in their navy blue. One team won a national championship 2 years ago. The other team went to the national championship game just last year. The starting lineup for Villanova, including Jalen Brunson, as was mentioned many times by the game day guys, one of the best point guards, one of the best players in the country. A lot of firepower on the Villanova side, a lot of firepower offensively on the Gonzaga side as well. Jonathan Williams had 39 in a game out of Portland to the PK80. Josh Perkins, another one of the top guards in the country. This one should be a lot of fun, and we are officially ready for the tip of our Sonic blockbuster matchup. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Holly Rowe, Doug Sermons, Rick Crawford, and Raymond Steins, the officials, and we're underway here in New York. And Perkins draws the assignment of Brunson.
Right away, Gonzaga going man-to-man. They have played a good bit of zone this season. You could see some zone tonight.
Out of bounds to the Wildcats with a fresh 30. Villanova comes in 8-0 on the season, ranked 4th in the nation. Gonzaga 7-1, ranked 12th. You said it, and I agree with you 100%. Both of these guys, Jay Wright, Mark Few, before it's all said and done, they're both going to wind up in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they'll be in the Naismith Hall of Fame. There's no question about that in my mind. And these are two teams that are really balanced. Villanova's got 6 guys that average in double figures, almost 7. And same thing right now for Gonzaga. Gonzaga's had 5 different players that have led their team in scoring this year. And still early in the year in 8 games. Really remarkable.
Silas Melson rattles one home.
And that was really easy for Silas Melson coming off that wing ball screen to waltz right into that shot. And Silas Melson is coming off maybe his best game of the season. He had 21 points against Creighton, went 7 of 8 from the field, and he was 9 of 29 at the PK80 those 3 games.
What was the primary focus, Jay, for each coach today at shoot-around in if they want to win this game today?
Well, both of them making sure their coverages are straight. Great shot fake.
Won't stay down, though, for Brunson. Everything but the finish.
That's exactly what Mark Few said was going to happen. Villanova does a great job using shot fakes and ball fakes. He's talked with his team about it. He said, you watch, the first one they give us, we'll go flying.
2-man game between Perkins and Killian Tilly. A much bigger role this year, but he turns it over on the travel. That ball pressure really bothered him.
Well, ball went into the post. They immediately went in and doubled. Villanova did. And Villanova will choose when they double. If they have a mismatch, they will go in and double. There are times when they won't. They'll just fake and recover because Villanova really wants to cover the 3-point line against Gonzaga. They don't want to give up open threes, especially to Josh Perkins.
Melson on Brunson this time down the court. Perkins is on Booth, and we get a call going against Villanova. That'll be on to Mikal Bridges.
Well, early on, you have to be really careful when you're posting up on both offense and defense, because the officials are going to establish what's going to be called the rest of the game. You just don't want to pick up a cheap one. 1-2-2 3/4 court pressure now from Villanova.
And the pass goes through the hands of Williams, who had a dunk had he been able to catch that.
It looked like that ball was deflected before he knocked it out of bounds. That made it much more difficult to catch. But Jonathan Williams in that PK80 tournament, he had 15 turnovers. 5 turnovers a game. He had 6, 3, and 6. That's way too many.
Brunson gets the switch. Williams on him. Brunson trying to take him. And now Booth guarded by Perkins, still 10 to shoot.
Perkins did a great job on that play behind action.
Brunson the drive and doesn't get the bounce again, and the rebound down to the Zags.
Terrific defense by Jonathan Williams, contesting the shot and not fouling.
Perkins, one of the best all-round guards in the country. The 3 rattles out for him. Perkins comes in averaging better than 14 points per game and shooting, Jay, 55% from 3-point range on the season, 29 out of 53.
He really struggled against Creighton. He went 0 of 2 from the field, only had 5 points. But remember, Kyrie Thomas was guarding him, one of the 5 best defenders in the country.
Perkins elevates again and knocks it down, and the Zags off to a good start, up 4 early.
Well, how good is Josh Perkins? Not only an outstanding shooter, you're just talking about it, but a creative passer. He's got really good vision.
You know, it's funny because every game is on TV and everybody can get tape of everybody else, but because these two programs are on opposite sides of the country, they don't recruit the same kids. There's a bit of an element of the unknown about each other, even with coaches watching all kind of tape, and it's kind of fun, I think, to have guys playing against each other who never have done that before.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you don't really get to know somebody's game. It doesn't matter how much tape you watch until you play against them. And that's why it's so great when you're playing within your own league. Zach Norvell thought he missed that shot. He was getting after that in a hurry, but knocked it down. He may be the hottest player on the Gonzaga squad right now.
Zach Norvell Jr. is starting for the injured Corey Kispert, who rolled his ankle a couple of games ago, and Norvell comes in here, as you said, very hot. He had 18 against Incarnate Word 2 games ago, and then 21 on Friday against Creighton, including 4 threes.
Yeah, he's gone 14 of 23 in his last 2 games.
Bridges into some traffic, and the foul is going to go against Tilly, I believe. Yes, it is. It's the first on Killian Tilly.
Mikal Bridges, when he first got to Villanova, we talked about his potential, that he was long-armed, he was athletic, he could defend multiple positions. And what did he average his freshman year? 9 points a game, give or take. Then it went up to 13. Now it's at 17 or 18. And when you watch him play now, there's a great maturity to his game, but I still feel like he's kind of scratching the surface of how good he's going to be. I mean, he's a special player.
He was the co-defensive player of the year in the Big East last year, and he himself says, quote, that he has to be more aggressive offensively. Villanova, obviously, they lost some terrific players from last year, like Hart and Jenkins. So the guys who are still here trying to step into the void a little bit at the offensive end.
And they're doing it, because as good as Jalen Brunson has been, and he's been fantastic. Brunson's shooting over 60% from the field, over 50% from 3. Mikal Bridges is doing about the same thing. He's 56 from the field and 50 from 3.
The pressure winds up in a turnover. Spellman somehow kept that foot down and then knocks it down. What a nice sequence there for the big guy.
Omari Spellman is a poet. Not quite poetry in motion there, but it looked pretty darn good. At least it rhymed.
That was poetry in motion at the other end by the Zags, as Rui Hachimura, a 6'8" sophomore from Japan, who has checked into the game, shows some of his athleticism.
Not a better athlete on the court than Rui Hachimura. He just needs to produce consistently. And here's the guy I think has to get going for Villanova, Phil Booth. He is an outstanding player.
Spellman can shoot it from the outside. He made 4 of them in Villanova's win over St. Joe's on the weekend, and he's off to a good start here tonight.
Now that looked like poetry in motion, and he is really shooting the ball much better over his last few games. He got off to Omari Spellman did a really poor start shooting it.
Hachimura driving on Dante DiVincenzo. Back to Melson. Perkins with the save, but he stepped out of bounds. We have a timeout on the floor, tied at 9, Jay, thanks to what the big fella, the big poet's doing out there on the court.
Omari Spellman, just a redshirt sophomore, didn't play last year, and has been getting better and better game to game, and shot that ball with confidence. Big fella.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Corona Extra. Find your beach. And in part by Las Vegas. Explore now at visitlasvegas.com. And Gildan. Love your dad?
August, so he is near and dear to the thoughts of Jay Wright. And again, that's why we're here tonight. The backdrop is basketball. We're all thrilled to come here and watch some great games, but we're asking you to get online, get on the phone. 1-800-4-JIMMY-V. V.org/donate. Whatever you can do goes directly to cancer research.
And what a program Jay Wright has built at Villanova. Mikal Bridges, just talking about him scratching the surface. Seems like he continues to get better, even though he's reached a point where he's an All-America caliber player at Villanova. Villanova switches so many, and they switch so many screens and exchanges, and Gonzaga has to be able to take advantage of the switches. But you take a look at Mikal Bridges, get a switch right there, and he comes right up on that almost roll and replace action, and comes right up to the top. And Villanova catches the ball to shoot. They don't catch ready to shoot. They catch everything to shoot it. And it's a mindset that they're in that makes them threats.
Hachimura called for the foul right there. Villanova missed its first 5 shots of the game. They have made their last 4, and they're on a 10-2 run right now.
Yeah, we learned something very interesting about Jay Wright today, which frankly, after knowing him all these years, I did not know. Did you know that he had a USFL championship ring with the Philadelphia Stars?
No, we found that out today. He was in the marketing department in 1986, right?
Now you ruined the story because I was gonna make people think he played. Like, look at that body. He played. He was a player for the Philadelphia Stars, and you go and let slip that he was in the marketing department.
My bad.
But not many guys have an NCAA championship ring and a USFL title ring.
No.
He may be the only one.
And for both of these coaches, it was great to see Jay Wright win that national championship a couple of years ago. And for Mark Few, for the first time getting to the Final Four last year and then getting to the national championship game, they came up just short against North Carolina. But wouldn't be surprising if both of these coaches had another Final Four or 2 or maybe 3 in them.
What a great pass into the post to Jonathan Williams, and Dante DiVincenzo, who could start for so many teams. What a stud. Watch this challenge by DiVincenzo. Playing on the weak side, comes over, and that looked like a great block against a fabulous player who went up. That's a block. Wow, what a play by DiVincenzo.
It's a 6'5" guy going up there to challenge a 6'9" guy, and that's DiVincenzo picking up his second foul. So Eric Paschal will check back into the game. The Wildcats say they've got 6 starters, the 5 who happen to start the game plus DiVincenzo, but they view him as a starter, so that's one of their key players going to the bench.
Well, he's their 3rd leading scorer, and DiVincenzo is more than the starter. He's third in minutes. He's indispensable because Jay Wright can plug him in anywhere. He's the Michael Jordan of Delaware.
14-11 to Villanova after trailing early. Brunson rejected at the rim by Williams.
Well, Brunson got the switch and went after it and got it sent back.
Hachimura fumbles, recovers, and then throws it away.
Like, Gonzaga is turning the ball over like crazy.
Booth, and it'll go.
And how good is it to see Phil Booth, who missed all of last season, back healthy? He's still not 100%, but he is a star. What a great player.
Norvell misses the 3.
Too quick. Villanova can take advantage.
Brunson driving into the chest of Perkins. And which way is it going to go? It's an offensive foul on Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, that's not a good call. Boy, Villanova had a great opportunity after what I thought was a bad shot. That's not a good call. That's Perkins putting his chest into Brunson, not the other way around.
Brunson to the bench, just his first. And into the game now for Villanova, Colin Gillespie, 6'3" freshman. Guy can shoot the ball, 45% from 3 so far on the season.
Well, this is a good look for Gonzaga right now, spreading it out and driving it.
Boy, Hachimura is having a tough go of it. He turns it over again. For people who haven't seen Rui Hachimura, give us some of the upside and give us some of the things that he still needs to work on right now.
Well, he's a highlight reel athlete. The question is, can he give consistent production out on the floor? He's one of those guys that has done it in spurts, but he's always done it to this point in his career against the lesser competition that Gonzaga's played. He's got to be a consistent producer and deliver every night. But his last 3 games, he's averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds. He's shooting over 50%. He's starting to get there.
And an over the back foul going against Demir Cosby Roundtree, another freshman. He's from Philadelphia. Let's bring in Holly Rowe.
Well, Rui Hachimura is such a fascinating story. He was playing in a FIBA tournament under 16 years old, and one of the coaches saw him over there overseas, and he said, I didn't speak any English at that time, but when American universities started talking to me, he started taking some lessons, and when he came to Gonzaga, he didn't speak any English, but he had been at least studying it, and now here he is.
What a feed from Perkins to Williams. Yeah, Hachimura is from Japan. His mom from Japan. His dad is from Benin in West Africa. And again, he's not a starter, but he's a terrific talent. But the consistency, as Jay said, is not there on a night-to-night basis just yet.
And the coach that saw him is Tommy Lloyd, who does all of the recruiting for Gonzaga overseas. He's got so many contacts all over the world, and Gonzaga has really been a destination for foreign players. The turnovers for Gonzaga.
Yep. That's 7 already.
It's concerning. I mean, they're coughing the ball up like crazy right now. It's still early, but
look at Bridges backing down Melson from the 3-point line to the block and then throwing it inside where Williams has to commit a foul.
Well, this has been kind of like an NBA game with the way they've taken on mismatches and then just backed them in down low.
Under 12 meeting it's
the real pro.
Wildcats in the house. And you know what's funny as we look around. Remember, there's a second game. This is a doubleheader coming up tonight. And this is not to say there are not Connecticut people coming in, although in blue they would blend in a little bit with Villanova. But when the folks in orange come in, you notice them. And the folks in orange are coming in already. There's a lot of orange in the house. Getting ready. It's going to have an old school Big East feel to it. Of course, neither Syracuse nor Connecticut in the Big East anymore, but they will meet in the second game, a Sonic blockbuster. The second game here with the Jimmy B Classic presented by Corona. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app.
And of course, Syracuse and UConn have had a little bit of a history of going extra innings.
Yes. Harkening back to the 6 overtime game that you were a part of the broadcast back in 2009. I think McDonough's still tired from that game. Or maybe he's just surly. 3-point lead, Villanova over Gonzaga, and turnovers an issue for both teams here in the early going. And these are two teams who, generally speaking, are very crisp offensively.
Well, Villanova bringing more pressure than Gonzaga is bringing. But both teams have substituted pretty freely.
Trying to go high-low, the pass deflected away.
And really, that is not a forced turnover. We give credit to Amari Spellman for getting the deflection, but Killian Tilly did not work on his pass at all. You know, there was no pass fake, didn't fake low and try to throw high, and he just allowed that length to be able, like that he just threw it right into his hand.
Holly Rose got more.
Well, checking into both huddles just now, I listened to Jay Wright, and he was talking about that press. They do feel like it is getting to Gonzaga. And then checking in on the Gonzaga side, this has been an issue for them, early turnovers. They had 24 turnovers against Texas earlier this season when Texas went to the press. So unfortunately for Gonzaga, at times this season, the press has worked against them, and we're seeing that again from Villanova.
And they've got a foul issue right now. That was the second on Tilly, so he goes to the bench. Williams back in. Jakob Larson is also in the game now for the Zags. A 6'11", a redshirt freshman from Denmark. You mentioned that Mark Few's program, as much as really any high-level program in the country, St. Mary's does a great job getting kids from Australia. Gonzaga gets them from all over the place. They always seem to have 3 or 4 international kids.
Yeah, and that's largely due to the great job that Tommy Lloyd does internationally. And that is not easy to recruit internationally.
Count it, and a foul. Larson headed to the line.
Looked like Jalen Brunson was still in the restricted arc, and that's why he picked up that foul. He may have been there, but if his heels were on that arc and the referee pointed to the floor, just really good job to hit the roll man, and it was his right foot still on that restricted arc.
And that's the second on Brunson.
Both teams do such a good job moving the ball, and then in pick and roll situations, they roll hard to the basket, force a rotation. And it's awfully difficult to pick up that charge on a rotation.
Jay Wright, Jay Billis, has both guys who have 2 fouls on his team in the game right now, Brunson and DiVincenzo.
Well, he trusts them. But to Holly Rose's point about the pressure and the press that Texas put on was late in the game because Texas was down. And they had somebody on the ball. It was full court pressure. This has been more containment pressure, which is a little more of a surprise that Gonzaga keeps turning the ball over.
Larson with a tough catch and a finish. And a nice couple of minutes here off the bench so far for Larson.
A good pass by Josh Perkins, just throwing that thing up and letting Larson go get it.
Larson says one of the reasons he came to Gonzaga was their record with international players. Saw how comfortably everybody fit in out in Spokane. Tied at 17, nearing the midway point of the first half here with the Jimmy B Classic. What a good matchup here. Brunson and Perkins. Brunson going to work on him and gets it to go.
Well, that's awfully easy for Brunson to take that ball one-on-one in the post against Perkins. Not much Perkins can do because Brunson is so strong. Just backs him in. That's just a back down isolation. And he can score all night doing that.
And a foul on the Zags. If it's Williams, it's his second, and it is.
See, Brunson just takes Perkins, decides he's just going to back him in. Then nobody's coming over to double team. And that was really a very comfortable post move. And here's the pass, just throwing it up to Larson right over Jalen Brunson with those 2 fouls.
Williams sits with his second. Brunson's gone to the bench for Villanova. Hachimura back into the game for the Zags. Booth gets the switch. Lob up over the top.
That was a foul by Melson. He just threw his body right into him.
Boy, Perkins still kept that dribble alive somehow. Perkins the drive. And Larson couldn't follow.
But great defense by Villanova.
DiVincenzo kicks it back out. And a three will go for Bridges.
How do you stop that, Dan? That's great. I call that play behind action. And when all the momentum's going to the basket and then Mikal Bridges fills in behind, how do you guard that? That was fantastic offense and a great pass by DiVincenzo. Terrific job to challenge, and Eric Paschal comes over. That should have been a stick back for Gonzaga, but that throw behind is big time. What a great play by Dante DiVincenzo. You know, I got a bone to pick with Villanova. They got to start recruiting guys named Joe Smith again. Like, we go from Ryan Arcidiacono to Dante DiVincenzo. It is not fair. And DiVincenzo again, because he scores so much, he plays so well, you say his name a lot. So that's an announcer's dream. But we need Joe Smith back in the lineup. Be perfect. They just had to communicate and to work through it. That they can't be wrong if they're decisive. So even though if it's not perfect, if they're together, it'll come out the perfect way, which is a stop, and they can take it the other way. But this is a team that has been decisive over the years, and they've built really a great culture there where the players they've recruited have helped the program recruit players just like them and character guys just like them. And that's true of Gonzaga as well.
And four-year players for the most part, right?
For the most part, absolutely.
Perkins, no.
But Bridges was right there. I mean, his momentum took him into Perkins, but you know, Perkins is going to have to deal with guys like Mikal Bridges all night. It is going to be a long night. Goes from Kyrie Thomas of Creighton to having to deal with a guy like Mikal Bridges.
Bridges got Perkins in the air, and as soon as Perkins left his feet, he knew he was headed for a foul.
Well, first of all, he didn't leave his feet.
He left
Your feet
I
go
stand
with you.
corrected.
Your feet go with you. But how much did Mark Few and his staff talk about staying down on shot fakes? But it is too difficult to do when you're playing against a team that's disciplined in having shot fakes and ball fakes, and they do it over and over again. And Villanova, you know, one reason Villanova is such a really good shooting team is because they're such a great passing team. They have a concept they call good, better, best. If you have a good shot, pass it up to get a better one. If you have a better shot, get the best one. And oftentimes they wind up, some people call it the extra pass. They say good, better, best.
Norvell into traffic and out of control. Another offensive foul. And boy, Mark Few doesn't know what to do right now. There's some heavy pacing going on that Gonzaga sideline.
Just sort of an out of control going against a set defense. Only one pass made, and there was really nowhere for Zach Norvell to go. And a little bit surprising that, you know, Gonzaga is usually really good at making passes, making the defense move, going side to side. And the reason you do all that is to give the defense a chance to make a mistake. One pass, there's no way Villanova's making a mistake. Right now, Gonzaga going with a little 1-2-2 zone or 3-2 zone, odd man front.
Booth at the top for Nova.
Nova has somebody in the short corner, somebody in the middle.
Booth for three. And two Wildcats are there. It'll be Spellman coming down with the offensive rebound.
There's the extra pass.
Bridges open.
And they wound up getting the best shot. Good, better, best.
And a steal. And it's Booth all alone. Boy, it has been a turnover fest for the Zags in the first half, and the Cats are on a 10-0 run.
And given the number of turnovers for Gonzaga, this score could be worse.
Absolutely.
It could be worse.
11 already committed by the Zags. Booth slips, recovers, but we got a man open. It's Norvell, too strong.
And when Booth went down, you know, he didn't feel sorry for himself that he slipped near a sticker on the floor. He got up and he contested that shot. Might have been a little late getting there because he was down. But man, that was impressive. There is no quit in Phil Booth. People forget Phil Booth had 20 points in the national championship game against North Carolina. Good pass.
And Cosby Roundtree draws the foul underneath. Villanova, just about anything they want, Jay, right now at both ends of the floor.
And when they lift their eyebrows up, Gonzaga is flying all over the place. Well, Nova Nation has done it on the defensive end, forcing turnovers. And Phil Booth, what a player, man. He's terrific.
Foundation, and he will be here for the second game tonight between Syracuse and Connecticut. You can hear his speech at halftime of the second game and the famous Jimmy V speech from the ESPYs between the two games here tonight.
Gonzaga with 11 turnovers to this point in the first half. Villanova scored 10 points off those 11 turnovers. That's the difference in the game. But it feels like it could be a lot worse. Actually, Gonzaga may be fortunate at this stage to only be down 10 points.
And one of two for Cosby Roundtree to make it an 11-point game.
Really, the next step for this Villanova team is for guys like Colin Gillespie and Cosby Roundtree to be more reliable off the bench and give more depth to this team.
Norvell with a great look, too strong on the three. You mentioned how hot he was coming into this game. Made one early, but has missed his last couple.
Looks like a little 2-3 zone for Gonzaga. And that middle is where you want to attack. But Villanova does a great job screening the zone.
Booth, no. Another offensive rebound, though, for the Cats.
They do a great job, and Bridges did it right there when he got the offensive rebound. Didn't go straight up, didn't really have much, but he looked out for a three-point shooter.
They can play fast when they want to, but they never appear to be rushing.
Man-to-man off the offensive board.
Tilly with a good two-handed rebound in traffic. Tilly, the 6'10 sophomore from France, corner three. Melson. Zags needed that one. First points in 5 minutes, Jay.
Well, Silas Melson, best defender on this Gonzaga team. Yeah, he's from Portland, Oregon, wound up at that PK 80 in Portland. Missed a key free throw that would have helped Gonzaga beat Florida. Instead, they wound up losing in double overtime. And has he bounced back from that? Back to the 2-3 zone.
And Villanova doing a lot of this with Brunson on the bench. Remember, he's got 2 fouls. Another miss by Booth and another offensive rebound.
How about that pass?
And Spellman the assist. Cosby Roundtree the bucket.
Mari Spellman is unselfish, and he is a really good passer. Man, is he a good player.
And he's having a good night so far tonight, isn't he?
He's active. He moves well.
And Perkins, bit of a late whistle, but a foul call on Cosby Roundtree, his second. Saturday, got an afternoon doubleheader of hoops action for you. #1 Duke will take on Boston College. That game begins at noon Eastern, and then you and I will be in Louisville as the Cardinals host the Indiana Hoosiers. Both games on ESPN and streaming live on the app.
How about that game between Seton Hall and Louisville? Seton Hall is legit. They are really good. They're older, and they are hungry, and they're prepared.
How about the Big East with Xavier, with Villanova, of course, with Seton Hall? It's a pretty good league. Great league last year, and it looks like it's going to be a very strong league again this year.
Well, top to bottom, I'm not sure there's any league in the country that's more competitive than the Big East. That's too easy to catch in the middle of the lane.
Booth baseline and gets all the way to the rim.
These shot fakes are tearing Gonzaga apart. So disciplined and so good with those shot fakes. Really impressive.
Tilly into Larson, yelling as he gets back down the court on D. Unhappy he missed a chippy.
Well, aside from the turnovers, making contested shots, and some of them haven't been that hard.
Kickball.
Now watch this shot fake in the corner from Phil Booth. Gives a little shot fake on a great pass out. So got the closeout, the shot fake, and then driving the closeout, and then finishing over Jakob Larson, who's a 7-footer. I mean, Phil Booth makes a huge difference for this team.
Bridges, and this time Melson stays down. Another bounce pass into the teeth of the defense, but it's turned over.
Well, Bridges tried to do something before he wound up with it.
Norvell, and that'll be a goaltending call on Pascal. So a bucket for the Zags to keep them within 10 as we have reached the under 4 media timeout. Undefeated Villanova with a 10-point lead on the Zags, executing well at the offensive end, and other than this, executing well at the defensive end as well.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of
guys, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, guys who come in, highly thought of, but not one and done, not top 5 in the country recruits. A lot of them stay 3-4 years. And both of these programs can make this claim. They've got a culture. They've got continuity. They never get caught having 6 or 7 freshmen on a team at once. As Nova goes over the top, can't get anything out of it yet. But now they do. Booth from the corner.
Good, better, best. Omari Spellman brought it down, didn't quite have the lob, passed it to Pascal, who could have shot it in the middle of the lane. That was a better opportunity, but they got the best shot to Phil Booth in the corner. That was a big-time play out of the timeout for Villanova.
And another pretty good look for the Zags that it won't stay down, this time for Tilly.
Well, right now, this should be a lot worse for Gonzaga. If Gonzaga can hit a couple shots, get a couple stops, this game looks totally different.
But another 3. This time for Bridges. Few teams can heat up collectively like Villanova can. We saw it against St. Joe's on the weekend. It was 29-27, and then the Cats just went nuts from beyond the arc. Closed the first half on a 12-0 run and opened the second half on a 14-2 run, won by over 40.
Well, they're still cleaning the blood off the floor in Hagan Arena. St. Joseph's is a good team, but Villanova hit 19 threes on the Hawks.
Yep.
And a spectacular offensive performance by Villanova.
Villanova, their last 4 years, you know what their seeds have been in the NCAA tournament their last 4 years?
Single digit.
A 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. Pretty
Thank
amazing.
you, boys. You sound like Lawrence Welk when you did that. Thank you, boys. A 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 1.
Are you dating yourself? Meanwhile, another 3, this time for DiVincenzo.
The attack of the zone has been expert. Getting the ball in the middle, kicking it back out, looking for open shooters, and being ready to shoot. The catch-to-shoot philosophy of Villanova has been on display in this first half.
Larson, who's pretty capable with both hands on that jump hook, makes it a 15-point game.
He's got a right-hand hook, a left-hand hook, as you said, but he gets that deep post. That's really the issue, is can you keep him from getting 2 feet in the paint? So far, Villanova has not. Back to man-to-man.
The Cats are 6 for 12 from 3-point range. Too strong off the glass for DiVincenzo.
Boy, is he bouncy. DiVincenzo's a terrific player.
Perkins with a quick one. And fouled on the 3-point attempt. So 3 free throws, and it's the 3rd foul on DiVincenzo.
Here's the lob along the baseline. And Omari Spellman can't bring it, can't get it. Good. He passes to Pascal for better, but the best shot is out on the perimeter. And Villanova, because of their unselfish play, they find the best shot. Was that the announcer's curse when I was just complimenting DiVincenzo and then he fouls a 3-point shooter?
Yes. It's a derivative of the announcer's curse, absolutely.
Got to be more careful.
So DiVincenzo with 3. DiVincenzo with 3. Now Brunson, remember, who's playing assistant coach right now with Jay Wright over there. Brunson went to the bench a long time ago with 2. So Jay Wright said, you know what, I don't want Brunson to pick up his 3rd. So he left DiVincenzo in there. He picked up his 3rd. And now the freshman Gillespie is coming back into the game.
Colin Gillespie was the Catholic League Player of the Year over, you know who he's Catholic League Player of the Year in Philly over?
I do not.
Quade Green.
Wow.
That's pretty darn good because Quade Green's a heck of a player, Kentucky.
The Alfa Romeo halftime report is coming up live from Madison Square Garden. Reese Davis, Seth Greenberg, Jay Williams. Notre Dame's in a battle tonight, and a look ahead to our second game tonight. It'll be Syracuse and UConn here in the second game of the Jimmy V Classic.
I hope that Jay Williams was taking good notes in the first half of things I've said so that he can say something intelligent at halftime.
That feels like a direct response to the cheap shot he fired at you at the end of game day.
Well, it wasn't a cheap shot. It was true what he said. But it was a direct response to that.
Gonzaga's got it down to 12. It was 17 not long ago. Can they somehow get it into single digits as poorly as things have gone in so many respects? Williams.
Well, you can tell that Mark Few can feel that this is a big part of the game. He's put Jonathan Williams back in.
And Williams having a tough go of it. He's got 4 points on the night, 1 for 4 from the field. A guy who comes in averaging 16 points per game.
Be interesting. I'd go 2 for 1 here and get something quick. You don't have to rush.
Pascal. Long strides, met at the rim by Larson, but the follow is good for Spellman.
Boy, Spellman, that was rebounding out of his area. He really pursued that ball, even though it was below the rim.
Boy, Larson again alone under the bucket, but
called a foul.
Boy, Larson, you talked about good deep position, but that time there was nobody near him.
Yeah, they just lost him. Yeah. Lost him in transition. A terrific pass. I don't know whether Spellman got him late, because Pascal got the ball up top. I mean, he definitely got fouls. Just a question of who did it. Looks like it was Spellman.
You know, you think of the big guys that Gonzaga's had so many good big guys over the year, but obviously Shimmick, Karnowski for the last several years, such a factor for them on the inside. They're a little bit different up front right now with the Zach Collins, who was a first-round pick of the NBA. A little bit different this year with the likes of Tilly and Larson. Obviously, Williams is back, but boy, it always seems like Gonzaga has really talented front court players.
Well, they have ever since. I mean, you go all the way back to Casey Calvary years and years ago. They've always had really talented big guys and great guards, but not having Shimmick Karnowski is an adjustment, because Gonzaga did an amazing job last year of punishing teams that would switch. So if you switch, Karnowski would just take you down into the post and lock you down. There's nothing you could do.
You couldn't even see the guard who was behind him when he tried to guard.
Yeah, that was just his beard that obscured the other guy.
Jeremy Jones in off the bench and immediately comes up with an offensive rebound. And a 3-second call. Larson wanted the ball, didn't get it, and then didn't get out of the paint in time.
Well, he had Phil Booth on him. That's why he wanted the ball. And that's an example of last year with that kind of mismatch. The ball would have gone right into the post, and they would have taken advantage of that. This team's still trying to get used to dealing with the mismatches that they have, and Larson hasn't been playing that much on the season.
Tomorrow night, got some NBA action coming your way here on ESPN. A doubleheader beginning at 8 Eastern. The Warriors take on the Hornets. Remember, Steph Curry rolling that ankle, looked like pretty badly last night. Then the Wolves and the Clippers in the second game. It all begins with NBA Countdown at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, charged by Mountain Dew, and it's also streaming live on the ESPN app.
Well, there are two questions with Steph Curry. When will he be back to play with the Warriors, and will this ankle injury have any effect whatsoever on his golf swing?
Which one of those questions concerns you more?
The golf swing, frankly. I thought it was totally underplayed when he played in that pro tournament this last summer. He shot 74-74.
Wow.
And all of our golf colleagues were like, yeah, that was respectable. You know, respectable? That was fantastic. Like, how many golfers have played an NBA game? That dude shot 74-74 in a professional golf tournament.
Probably broke 90 the first time he ever played. Was one of those guys.
And Steph Curry hit his first shot. It was sort of a wayward tee shot and went into the cup holder of a cart. He had to get a ruling on his first shot and still shot 74-74.
Villanova can hold for the final shot of the first half, a half in which the Zags have not played well at all.
Gonzaga has to rebound. It's not just the first shot, it's the second one.
Bridges, too strong, and Gonzaga's got some time. Perkins, got to get it off now. Just short, and that brings the first 20 minutes to a close here in New York, with the Wildcats holding a 13-point lead in large part due to the 12 turnovers committed by Gonzaga, and the Cats certainly took advantage of those. So they've got a double-digit lead. An undefeated team against a one-loss team. Villanova is leading. Jay Wrights with Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach, Jay Billis has been talking about your good, better, best, very intentional shot hunting. How has that played out in this first half?
So far, so good. We're doing a good job of making the extra passes and finding the best shots. We did a good job against the zone. Man-to-man, we're not doing such a good job.
All right, the shot fakes. Are you going to put on a clinic for coaches all across America? Because that really has impacted Gonzaga defenders.
I know, Mark, they'll make an adjustment right now, so it's not going to work in the second half.
Okay, how do you counter his adjustment?
We have to see what it's going to be. You know, their zone hurt us for a little while, and then we got good at it, and then they went back to man, and we struggled with that. So they're switching back and forth. We got to be ready to do the same and be effective.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
It's a game of adjustments. Villanova leading Gonzaga 43-30 at halftime. Shot fake and a drive for a layup there. And Villanova really played well. And Gonzaga, quite frankly, really played poorly in the first half. Turned it over a dozen times. And you said this could be more than a 13-point game.
It probably should be more. Yeah. And that's partly on Villanova. They didn't take advantage. But one thing Villanova has to do, even with the lead, Gonzaga is going to start hitting shots. They're too good offensively not to hit shots. And Villanova is going to have to find them in transition. Other than the first half, they didn't do as good a job as finding them as they should have. And they're going to have to really be locked in defensively because you cannot expect to hold Gonzaga down in the second half.
Jalen Brunson only played 8 minutes in the first half after picking up his second foul. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, Gonzaga coach Mark Few is frustrated with the turnovers, obviously, but he said, you know, it's a mystery. They came in a variety of different ways, traveling, offensive fouls, losing the ball. He said, I just want our guys to settle down a little bit and stay in their lane. Then I followed up on what they're doing defensively, zone, man, switching back and forth. And he said, you know, it's been really hard to be effective in the zone. Villanova's a really hard team to zone against because they can hit those threes as we saw. So don't expect as much of that here in the second half.
All right, Holly, thank you. Gonzaga 7-1. The only loss, a double overtime thriller to Florida at the PK 80. Villanova is an undefeated 8-0 on the season. Remember, they did not play Purdue or Arizona down in the Bahamas after both of those schools lost their first game. Ready for the tip of the Sonic blockbuster matchup. We go to the second half here at the Garden.
Another turnover and now a foul.
And the second half begins just as poorly as most of the first half went for Gonzaga. The fouls on Jonathan Williams, his third. And if you're Mark Few, what are you to do right now?
Well, Holly Rowe is absolutely right about the zone. If Gonzaga plays zone, you've got a really good shooting Villanova team, but better than their shooting is their passing. And their passing, their awareness, their cutting, it's going to be just as hard to guard in man-to-man.
Brunson, Melson won't bite on a couple of fakes. And eventually we get a 3-second call. So give Silas Melson a lot of credit on that trip.
Well, Silas Melson, but everybody else stayed with their man and made the pass out impossible. That was like when a rush is coming on a quarterback and everybody is right on an intended receiver and there's no one to throw it to. Good pressure on the ball by Omari Spellman, because Jonathan Williams was open inside. If he just lobbed the ball up to the bucket, that would have been an easy two, but Silas Melson couldn't see because of Spellman's long arms.
Perkins misses the three. A minute into the second half, Villanova with the ball and a 13-point lead, and Connecticut and Syracuse still to come in the second game here from the Garden. Spellman, who had a really good first half, banging hard with Williams. Williams is called for the foul. And look at the look on his face. He can't believe it. He just picked up his fourth foul.
I think he's surprised because Omari Spellman just threw his body into him. And Spellman, once he got to the middle, he should have just gone straight up for a jump hook. I mean, right there, he didn't need to go into his body there. A little surprising that, you know, he took that much contact.
And Williams, as he was getting helped up, he was sure the call was going to go on Spellman, but it went on him, and that's going to force him to the bench for a good long while.
But with 3 fouls, that was worth the risk for Omari Spellman because he's only got 1.
Yep.
So go ahead and roll the dice with the contact, and it came out in his favor.
Larson comes back into the game. He scored 7 points in limited minutes in the first half, but losing Williams is a loss for the Zags.
Well, and what Villanova has to do with Larson in the game, they've got to run him. Beat him down the floor, both on offense and defense, although Larson is a good athlete. There's a switch off the pick and roll.
Little high-low from Larson to Tilly.
Really well done. Got a little guard guarding Killian Tilly. And Gonzaga just passed out of it because they couldn't see over the top. They passed to the top and then got it to him. The postman is always open depending upon the angle of the ball. If he's not open from one angle, get it to another.
Brunson driving past Tilly. Pascal in the corner, too strong on the three.
Big possession here. Gonzaga needs to score off of a stop and get some momentum.
Perkins gets the switch, but picked up his dribble, lobs it up for Larson. Tilly wide open. Gonzaga still cold from outside. They are 2 for 11 from three-point range.
One thing about Villanova's lead in the first half, Dan, Jalen Brunson only played 8 minutes in the first half with those 2 fouls. And for Villanova to play that well without him, this is a really good team that can beat anybody.
Haskell over Larson, left it short. Tilly for the second or third time tonight bringing the ball up the floor. He's a guy much bigger role this year than last year. And he's showing up on the radar of NBA teams right now. Killian Tilly with a lot of different skills.
Well, when Killian Tilly went to set a side ball screen, he rolled into the post and he had Jalen Brunson. So Brunson's trying to front him, but the pressure on the ball when the ball was passed to Larson out front, Omari Spellman was not out on him to take away that vision, and he could just pick apart Brunson, who was trying to front Killian Tilly and just sit on his legs.
Long cross-court pass, Norvell, and Gonzaga has it down to single digits.
Zach Norvell Jr. is a microwave. When he is hot, he can put up points in a hurry.
In the last game against Creighton, he missed his first 6 threes and then made his last 4.
Well, Mark Few actually had a sub in for him at the scorer's table for an and one. And Norvell missed the free throw, stayed in the game, and then he got hot and knocked down a bunch of threes.
Genius. Melson misses the 3. Ball is still loose, and it's out of bounds to the Zags.
You know, missing a free throw when a sub is at the scorer's table. Now, a lot of former assistants to Mark Few thought that was an Adam Morrison trick. That Morrison, whenever there was a sub in when he was shooting a free throw, sub at the scorer's table, he would miss on purpose so he could stay in the game.
Padding his stats by staying in and knowing he'll get his one way or the other. Strong drive by Tilly, and with everything that's gone wrong for Gonzaga tonight, they're back within 7.
Well, we talked about Gonzaga's going to score. They are not going to go an entire game without getting their offense going, as good as Villanova can be defensively. So Villanova has to be tough and run good offense. They have to continue to get scores. I was going to say scores and stops,
Easy
but
for
scores.
You to say. Brunson. Bridges. Yes.
Wow. Boy, that was with Silas Melson closing out to him. He caught that ball to shoot.
And Tilly driving and drawing the foul. Well, signs of life here for the Zags early in the second half. They've made a bit of a run. It's a 10-point game. Jimmy V Classic, an event that did not start here in New York. It was out in Jersey a couple of times before it moved here to Madison Square Garden on a permanent basis. You saw the record for Mark Few. What an incredible run he's had. This is his 19th season as head coach of the Zags. Led him to the national championship game last year where they lost to North Carolina. An incredible winning percentage.
Another switch. Larson inside.
And the 14th turnover of the night committed by Gonzaga.
You know, instead of looking inside and letting Larson take advantage of having Jalen Brunson on him off the switch from the ball screen up top, you know, Tilly just tries to drive, winds up turning it over.
And DiVincenzo into the game for the first time in the second half for Villanova. He's playing with 3 fouls. Brunson driving on Larson. Threads the needle inside to Bridges.
What a beautiful cut by Bridges, and then Brunson taking advantage of the switch where he had Larson on him. He says, hey, you're going to take me down low. Guess where I'm going to take you? I'm going to drive you. Good pass.
Larson to Tilly, and they connect again.
Well, great job by Larson to come up to the high post and then look low. Big time high-low basketball played by the Zags.
Larson really getting an opportunity because of the foul trouble for Williams tonight. He's making the most of it, but at the other end, a chance for a 3-point play for Brunson.
Well, instead of the dribble handoff on the right wing, Jalen Brunson just kept it and took it hard to the basket. The son of former Temple and NBA star Rick Brunson, the keeper, and finishes with that left hand. And there are a lot of people that, you know, they talk a lot about Rick Brunson as Jalen Brunson's dad. I think Jalen Brunson may actually be a better player than Rick. And Rick was a great player.
Yep.
As Jalen can really shoot it.
Rick spent a number of years in the NBA. We asked Jay Wright about Jalen Brunson. What do you like best about him? And he said his maturity. He said he's more mature than I am. And we kind of smiled. He goes, no, I'm not kidding. He said it's like having a 10-year pro out there. It's like talking to a guy who's been there, done that. That he keeps the other guys in line. You can just see from the pace and the poise that he has, how composed he is at all times.
Another switch and a mismatch.
Booth, and Tilly got him.
Oh, what an athlete Killian Tilly is.
Ahead to Melson, who lays it in. So Tilly with a block leads the break, makes a nice feed, and the Zags have it down to 10 again.
Killian Tilly had 9 rebounds in the national championship game against North Carolina. And he's just a pogo stick jumper off 1 or 2 feet.
He was one of the most talented guys nobody knew about last year because of Karnowski and Collins playing in front of him. Brunson keeps it.
Now we got a switch.
And he gets called for the offensive foul. His third.
Killian Tilly does such a good job of moving his feet, even against a smaller player. Moves his feet, stays in front, and goes straight up to pick that out of the air against Phil Booth. And then, how many big guys, 6'10", can make that kind of play and then initiate offense, bringing the ball up and finding someone like that in transition? That was a big-time play.
Perkins got caught in the air, fortunate to find Tilly, and it will stay with the Zags. Or was it off? No, they're going to overturn it. It was off the foot of Tilly, and he won't argue. It'll be Villanova basketball.
Gonzaga has had some opportunities to cut this lead. And for one reason or another, maybe a turnover, something like this, dribbling off the foot, and the ball going the other way where Gonzaga doesn't get a shot, or good offense by Villanova. They've not been able to really put that kind of game pressure on Gonzaga, on Villanova yet.
Well, if you look at the Zags tonight, they're not getting much out of Williams. He's got 4 fouls, hasn't played very much. Corey Kispert hasn't played, a freshman and a very good one from Edmonds, Washington, out with a bad ankle, and they really haven't gotten much at all from Hachimura. So they got 3 guys who are very important to them, who for one reason or another have not contributed very much tonight.
What a rebound.
Pascal followed up his own miss with a vengeance, didn't he? And Brunson fouled on the drive.
Eric Pascal made a great drive. It didn't go in, but that was a big-time drive. And then didn't give up on the play and went after that second shot with two hands with strength.
Brunson inside, fires a pass out to Booth. And again, if there's nothing there, they'll just swing it around and look for something better. Booth drives and lays it in.
Tremendous maturity by Villanova. They're going to make you make a mistake. If you don't make one initially, they're patient enough to wait for you to make one later.
Perkins for 3. Got it.
Well, Josh Perkins can really shoot it. He was in Portland for the PK80. Every morning he came down, I guess in the hotel that Gonzaga stayed in, they had these funky robes. And he wore a robe to every team function, like with a leopard print.
That was his 30th made 3 of the season. This is Gonzaga's 9th game. Shot clock at 5.
Good slip.
Wide open Pascal. And a real battle for the rebound. Out of bounds. But Gonzaga ball is the call as we go to the under 12 media timeout. We get a little visual evidence of what Mr. Billis was speaking about just moments ago.
Well, Josh Perkins at times has been the king for this team, and a robe of a king. Jay Wright thinks he's sartorial splendor. I say it's Josh Perkins.
And loyal consumers have generated over $12 million in support towards the B Foundation. Great job. A salute to them, and let's all keep it coming tonight here with the Jimmy B Classic.
Just so you know, I would be in the loyal consumers category.
You know what? I knew that already. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a 9-point lead with Jay Billis, Holly Rowe. I'm Dan Schulman. Dick Vitale here for the second game. Syracuse and Connecticut renewing their what used to be, of course, the Big East rivalry. They met on this floor last year with Connecticut winning. Perkins, a deep one. Too strong, and the rebound down to Brunson.
Villanova fortunate there.
DiVincenzo doesn't get it to go.
Good challenge by Silas Melson. Villanova went to a 1-2-2 3/4 court press, but they just lost Josh Perkins as it went back into its half-court version of man.
Tilly into Larson and finishes. Boy, that rattled around a little bit, but Larson knocks it down, and it's a 7-point game.
Having Larson's size and presence in the paint has made a big difference. He's challenged a few shots near the rim, but Gonzaga's been able to throw it up to him. And he's done a good job of passing it when he's had the ball at the high post.
And we're hearing the Zags fans really for the first time tonight. They, of course, are outnumbered here in New York by Villanova fans as Brunson is fouled.
Well, how about that change of pace, change of direction by Jalen Brunson? Just sort of hesitates, then puts the jets on, gets into the paint, and just goes body seeking in order to draw that foul.
Third foul on Tilly. Who right now, of course, is pretty much indispensable for the Zags, especially with Williams sitting on the bench with 4.
One thing that I'm so impressed with Jalen Brunson, he was trained essentially by Ryan Arcidiacono his freshman year. He wasn't just handed the keys of the team and had to figure it out. And he was an excellent pupil, and now he's teaching some of those lessons himself. He has matured into a great player.
Was it that class, the Arcidiacono class, that really started this run for Villanova the last 5 years?
Yes, and it's not just the basketball part that they started, and excellent basketball players, obviously, but I think it's the character that they showed, both athletically and off the court, in building the culture that Jay Wright wanted at Villanova. Jalen Brunson, the left-hander, he's done everything in basketball to this point in his career. He's won a national championship as a freshman, quarterback to #1 team. He's the real deal, and he's just a junior. There's more time for him in this game.
You hear people say things like he's the consummate college point guard, which is a compliment, but it also makes it sound like maybe he's lacking some things for the next level. Does Brunson have a pro future in your mind?
Well, hopefully when people say that, they're just talking about enjoying him while he's in college. A lot of times when you say great college player, you are saying that I don't know if he's going to be a pro. I think Jalen Brunson's going to be a pro. Now, he's not an Allen Iverson explosive type athlete at the point guard position, but he's strong, and better than that, he knows how to play. He absolutely knows how to play.
Do you think the guy at the free throw line is going to be a pro, Bridges?
I think he's a pro at any sport he wants to play, but he's the prototypical basketball player in today's game.
Perkins, tough lay-in, and again, it's down to 7.
Well, Mari Spellman didn't know what to do there. Do you play the pass, which would have gone to Jakob Larson, or do you play the shot? And that was a beautiful look away and finish by Josh Perkins.
Perkins into double figures now with 10. Bridges rises up for a 3 and hits it.
Are you kidding me? Like pick and pop, and he caught that ball on the move and still had the balance to make that shot. That was big time.
5 threes and 22 points tonight for Bridges, who came into the game shooting 50% from beyond the arc on the season. Tilly rejected by Bridges. DiVincenzo, a beautiful feed to Brunson.
That is beautiful.
To the conclusion of this one, old rivals Syracuse and Connecticut in the second game, also streaming live on the ESPN app. And Terry Larrier and the Huskies are in the house. Connecticut is 6-2 on the season. They've won each of their last 2 games in overtime. They'll play a Syracuse team that's coming off a loss to Kansas, their first loss of the season. This will be the 94th meeting all time between Syracuse and Connecticut, with the Orange leading the series 55-38.
And Terry Larry, of course, started his career at VCU, and tonight VCU and Texas are playing in Richmond. Shaka Smart going back to where he started his head coaching career.
Melson with a shot fake, trying to turn the tables on the Wildcats. You can see some Syracuse UConn stats. 16th all-time meeting at Madison Square Garden, with Syracuse leading 8-7. And who will ever forget the 6 overtime game of the Big East tournament? That was back, what, 2009, right? 2009. 4th foul committed by DiVincenzo, so he's going to have to come to the bench. Booth back in.
It's nice to be able to exchange Dante DiVincenzo and Phil Booth. You can put one in for the other and there's no drop off. I mean, DiVincenzo is going to have to sit because of foul trouble, but that dude is a player, man. What a competitor.
And up front, one thing that Jay Wright's got going for him is that Spellman and Pascal have been able to give him big minutes without getting into foul trouble. So he's been able to play those guys a lot.
Yeah, Pascal hasn't been scoring. Not sure he has a bucket yet. At least he was 0 of 6 earlier on. But he's done a good job on the glass.
Bridges from the baseline will head to the free throw line.
And not a good foul by Rui Hachimura.
Who has been a non-factor tonight. He just picked up his 4th foul.
Well, that's what is the issue for Hachimura. Still a young player and coming from Japan, still learning the game, really. But having consistent production in big games, it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to do it. He's got a ton of potential.
We saw his best game out of the PK 80 where he was against Texas, I believe, right, where he scored the 20 points. Norvell Jr. back into the game, but it's been a much tougher sledding for Hachimura here tonight.
Yeah, Hachimura, he did have 20 points against Texas. I think he had 9 rebounds and a couple assists in that game. And that was by far his best game, but that was more of an open court game.
24 now for Bridges. That matches a career high.
Bridges on Perkins. And that's a tough matchup for Perkins to be able to see over.
Good ball pressure by Pascal, but a little bit too much ball pressure, as it turns out. Jay Wright didn't like that call.
Oh, he has a reason not to like it. That wasn't a foul. The contact came from the arm bar by the offensive player. You know, Pascal was putting really good pressure on the ball. He could have called a foul there, but that's not a foul on the defense. It's not a foul on anybody, frankly.
And another foul, this one going against Brunson, number 4 on Jalen Brunson.
That one's frankly more of a foul because Brunson didn't have an angle there. You should have just let the guy dribble back out. He's trying to go away. I mean, there's not much contact there, period, to call a foul, but that's more the freedom of movement thing.
And Jay Wright had sent DiVincenzo to check in and then changed his mind, called him back, and it brings in Cosby Roundtree. So both DiVincenzo and Brunson on the bench, each with 4 fouls. Perkins trying to get it into Tilly, can't do it. Now Larson back to Perkins. Step back jumper, really tough shot. And a foul going against Norvell.
Well, that was really difficult for Josh Perkins to deal with because he had Bridges on him. And Omari Spellman made a defensive mistake. Going for that steal and gambling for it opened up a wide open 3 for Josh Perkins. Now, normally Perkins is going to make those wide open 3s. You know, he missed that one. But that's one of the reasons, even though you could have got a steal there, you don't want to gamble and give up an open 3 when you got a 12-point lead.
And it's bonus situation now for Villanova. Pascal, who has yet to score tonight, although he's played hard and has done some other things well. A transfer from Fordham. No knock down the front end.
Good free throw shooter. Shoots almost 90%. Pascal transferred in from Fordham, where he was the Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Year. He's one of these inside-out players that can step away and knock down a perimeter shot. He operates very effectively on the perimeter.
Good looking stroke, makes them both.
Well, it's nice when your big guys can make free throws. And Pascal can knock down free throws consistently.
Villanova 77% as a team from the free throw line this season.
Villanova racking up some fouls here just on normal action.
Second on Bridges. Each of those guys has 4.
And I have to tell you, Dan, this is one of the reasons, you know, sort of the fouls being racked up, why I think college basketball should go to quarters.
Right. Like the international game.
Yeah, because you're not stuck with a few calls for the entire half. You know, the fouls reset, the team fouls reset at the end of the first and third quarters. So it's just the right way to play.
Right. It doesn't help you individually, but it reduces the number of free throws.
Right.
And another foul on Villanova. This time some good work on the offensive glass by Larson. And that is on Cosby Roundtree, his third. Tonight, after the Jimmy V Classic here on ESPN, it is Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt. We'll look at how much wins in December affects seeding in March with a couple of big non-conference matchups tonight. Plus, OKC, when will they take the next step? And also his take on the Heisman final. Sports Center with SVP after the Jimmy V tonight here on ESPN.
I can answer his question. December wins affect March seeding in a big way, because in basketball, every game counts. Every game counts.
We're in football,
we're in football, only some of the games count.
Right. And as you've said, for UCF, you don't feel any of their games counted.
None of their games counted. UCF is 12-0, and they have zero chance to.
We interrupt this football conversation with a Mikal Bridges slam and then a block at the other end. What a talent.
Mikal Bridges is making a case for first-team All-American in this game. Talk about a player that plays at both ends. He not only plays at both ends, he plays above the rim. Just off the high pick and roll, he blows right off the slip and takes it right to the rim. Nobody there to stop it. That was spectacular. Blocks a shot on the other end.
Yep.
That was spectacular.
Perkins too strong, but he is fouled. Mikal Bridges has 26 points in this game, and we just saw the two loudest points of the night.
What a spectacular finish by Mikal Bridges. Then on the other end, Josh Perkins taking.
I just love the dynamic between the coach. Jay Wright sees something special in this kid, and he's going to push him in a positive way to get the most of it.
And again, they need more from him than they've gotten in the past, because the likes of Arcidiacono and Jenkins and Hart, so many good players, have moved on in the last couple of years. Yet here they are, Jay, 8-0, undefeated. Bridges turning into a superstar, one of the best point guards in the country. This team, again, is a threat on the national level.
They're legit. And what they need is for guys like Colin Gillespie and Demir Cosby Roundtree, Jermaine Samuels, who's just a freshman from Franklin, Mass. They need those guys to give them more. And if you can get to an 8-man rotation instead of a 6-man rotation, then this is a national champion. I think it's a contender right now, but you'd put them up with anybody with 8 or 9.
And as we said, they will be tested in their league. There are a lot of terrific teams in the Big East again this year. Pascal with a 16-footer and down with a rebound, Norvell.
There's so many interchangeable parts on this Villanova team.
Perkins lob, can't connect with Tilly.
Gonzaga has not been able to establish any rhythm in this game, and it's because Villanova has disrupted that rhythm. And you've heard me say this, well, you've heard me say everything ad nauseum. You have to listen to me way too much, but basketball is a game of rhythm. Establish yours, disrupt theirs, and Villanova has totally disrupted Gonzaga's rhythm.
Wow. I mean, Booth was flying from midcourt and never broke stride.
He's really a huge key to this team. Phil Booth is an outstanding player. Great first step. He's a stud.
He started accelerating about 40 feet away. Nobody picked him up. That was an easy one. Norvell at the other end. Not this time for Bridges, but he draws the foul. Take another look at Booth.
Well, this is a Villanova team full of great cutters. And when they see an opening, they don't just stand and wait for the ball to find them. The ball finds the most energetic players. And Phil Booth has been an energetic player throughout this game at both ends of the floor. What I love about Villanova is on defense, they're not perfect. It's not like all their rotations are perfect, all their switches are perfect, but they fight through together and they make it work. And so when it's not perfect, Jay Wright talked to his team about be decisive. If it's not perfect, be decisive and it'll work out. And they trust one another. They communicate really well.
Well, you used the word together. They are as together as a unit at both ends of the floor as any team in the country, wouldn't you say?
I think so. And they're an older team, obviously, which helps a great deal in that regard. And talk about a guy that has not been able to establish any rhythm, and that's Jonathan Williams. How good was Williams against Florida?
39 points good.
It was ridiculous. 12 rebounds. He was spectacular. He's been good all season long. I mean, he was superhero good.
Yep. Played by fouls, though, here tonight. Not this time for Bridges. Maybe really one of the few bad shots, if you even want to call it that Villanova has taken tonight. Now we got a call going against the Cats.
No, you're right.
Number 4 on Cosby Roundtree.
That was a bad shot by Bridges because it was a challenge shot. And it was a challenge shot without making the defense move. Can he hit that? Yeah, he can hit that shot. But it's one that you can survive when you got a 15-point lead and the rest of your team's in foul trouble. You can't get taken out. And when you're as good as he is, when you just dunk on the entire.
Yeah, when you're having the kind of night that he is.
Well,
you just called him a superhero. Perkins at the line and makes the front end.
He's been playing like a superhero.
Absolutely.
He's been plastic man.
Perkins 3 years ago as a freshman fractured his jaw early in the season. Played just a few games before that injury. Got a medical red shirt, so he is a red shirt junior, 4th-year junior out of Park Hill, Colorado.
Actually, when that happened, that put Silas Melson into action. Gonzaga was going to redshirt Silas Melson before that happened, and so their redshirt strategy kind of flipped. Now a switch.
Booth driving on Tilly, gets by him and gets it to go.
The left-hander never put his left hand on the ball. Or that was Booth. That was Booth.
Yep.
What a great, and talk about a first step. That was fantastic.
Norvell knocks down a corner 3.
For Booth to drive by, take the contact, and get that up with just one hand, he got it up on the glass so quickly it couldn't be blocked.
Booth 17, overshadowed a little bit by Bridges 28 tonight.
Well, but what a luxury when your point guard is out with fouls that Booth can come in and run the team and run it this effectively.
Numbers now for Gonzaga. Spellman down behind the play. And a foul.
Every bit of contact is being called right now, and Villanova has to be smarter. What a great move to get by Killian Tilly. And then before Tilly, who's a great athlete, can get off those feet and get off the floor, he just kisses it right off the glass.
And Brunson and DiVincenzo both look like they're coming back in, both with 4 fouls. 2 shots the rest of the way for the Zags.
Both DiVincenzo and Brunson just have to be smart. There's no reason you can give up a bucket if you get caught off balance or out of position. Give up the bucket. Don't give up the foul. I'll tell you what, there's a long way to go here, and Villanova has to stop fouling because they're putting Gonzaga on the line to score with no defense.
It was as high as 17 this half. It was as low as 7. It's 10 now.
And this is where throughout the game where Gonzaga has threatened to get back in it, where Villanova has made a play to extend it.
DiVincenzo. And a foul underneath against Melson will send the Cats to the line. 4 on Melson.
Spellman had what looked like inside position, and Melson gave him a little forearm in the back to make sure he couldn't get that offensive rebound. And that's what, when you have a switch, that's what you're vulnerable to. It's not just the initial action, it's the second shot.
And Spellman gets the roll on the first. A couple more subs now as DiVincenzo and Brunson go back out. So Jay Wright already with 5:09 to go. He's shuttling those 2 guys in and out. He wants them in on offense. He wants them out on defense because of the 4 fouls.
How about Omari Spellman? Not only a poet, we've documented that, but he's writing a novel.
What's it about?
It's a full day.
It is a full day.
It's about 300 pages.
12-point lead, Villanova. One of the remaining unbeatens in the country. They are 8-0. They played Western Kentucky, Tennessee, and Northern Iowa down in the Battle at Atlantis. Remember, Arizona and Purdue both lost and continue to lose. Purdue lost twice and then beat Arizona. Arizona lost 3 times down there. So Jay Wright thought he would get a look at some ranked teams. This is actually the first ranked opponent of the season for the Wildcats.
And thus far, they're passing the test. But I think Jay Wright would like to see his team play really good defense, which they've done all game long, but do so without fouling. Because this is really, the fouling has really bogged the game down to a crawl. And it's only going to take a couple of made threes by Gonzaga, and all of a sudden there will be game pressure on Villanova again. And they played most of the game with a decent cushion.
2 free throws the rest of the way for both sides with 4:58 to go. And Brunson and DiVincenzo back in on offense.
Well, I think you attack Jonathan Williams here.
Brunson gets the switch, got him in the air, made the shot, and fouled Williams out of the game. Really said it, they did it.
Stunning that they would make a smart play. I mean, Villanova's so smart. Going after a vulnerable defender in Williams. The shot fake, he comes right into Brunson. Brunson gets the contact and still is able to finish that play. Kept his eyes on the rim. This has been clinic-like in a way. You know, pay your $100, pick up your T-shirt, your clipboard. Villanova's put on a clinic in this game.
Well, you do hear the word surgical a lot when Villanova plays other teams. Williams, a very frustrating night as he fouls out with just 5 points.
Never was able to establish any rhythm because of the foul trouble.
And the Cats stretching out the lead. Melson.
Good job by Spellman.
You get a piece of it. Now volleyball spiked back in by Tilly, who comes from an entire family of volleyball players. That was like a set, not a spike. Set that ball to get it back into play.
Yeah, that's a violation, yeah. But that's exactly what it was. That was like in beach volleyball where you just
great.
That was pretty darn good.
And he comes by it honestly. Everybody in the family plays volleyball pretty much. And Mom and Dad both were in the Olympics, so you can't fault him for doing what he did just there.
How do you pronounce his dad's name? Is it Laurent?
Laurent.
In America, that's Larry.
And a foul down at this end, and it's on Melson, and that's going to be the end of the night for Silas Melson. And he's got much the same expression on his face that Jonathan Williams had a couple of minutes ago.
Boy, how about the strength of Jalen Brunson turning that corner? Melson didn't quite have the angle in order to maintain legal guarding position, and that was like trying to stop a running back, trying to stop Marshawn Lynch or something when he's coming through a gap. That was spectacular strength.
So Melson, the second Zag to foul out, and more free throws coming for Villanova.
Look at the strength there. I mean, Melson goes straight back, and Brunson looked like he didn't even take contact at all.
A lot of frustration on that Gonzaga bench right now. Really, from the outset of the game, it just has not gone well. And they have played, as you said, Villanova has dictated the tone of this game.
Well, this is the most physical team that Gonzaga has played to this point in the season. And the Zags have played a really difficult schedule. You know, playing a team like Creighton at home and the teams that they played in the PK80. Ohio State, Florida, Texas. I mean, those are really good teams, a really good competition, but none of the teams they've played have been anywhere near as physical and as disciplined defensively as Villanova is.
Norvell getting a lot of extra playing time the last couple of games because of the injury to Kispert, and he's making the most of it. 19 for Zach Norvell Jr.
He's really been the only consistent offense for Gonzaga. Very little has been consistent in this game for the Zags.
Shot clock at 6. Booth will launch and hits.
Are you kidding? What a player.
They are 9 for 20 from three-point range.
How much do you think they missed Phil Booth last year when he was out with that injury? That was a difference maker for Villanova last year, not having him available.
Perkins scoop and good. Nice little 4-foot finger roll there from Josh Perkins. He's a talented kid.
He really is. What a good player.
By the way, that Booth 3 gives him 20 on the night. That'll match his career high. You talked about it in the national championship game against Carolina a couple of years ago.
Nice to have your career high in the championship game.
Yeah. Villanova winning the national title 2 years ago, and Gonzaga getting to the championship game last year, losing to Carolina. A lot of contact. They play on. Shot clock's running down. It's turned over, and it's numbers for Gonzaga. Perkins. And Perkins just lost it out of bounds. He felt Bridges closing in on him and lost it.
Footsteps. That's the impact that Mikal Bridges has had in this game. That Josh Perkins, as outstanding a player as he is, was worried about Bridges, didn't want to put it up, looked in the rearview mirror, play over. The same. Tom Izzo, you'd have a glass of milk with him, maybe a cookie. He's not much of a beer drinker, but we decided to do. You know, everybody's fun to have a beer with after they win. It's the guys who would still be a really good time to have a beer with after they lose. But the problem is none of the guys on the list would pick up the check.
Well, and none of them lose very often either, so they're not used to doing this kind of thing. You saw the honorary captain, of course, is Jim Valvano. This is the Jimmy V Classic in his memory and his honor as well. And boy, he lived life to the fullest, didn't he?
He did. And what a great coach, and it was such an honor to compete against him and his teams when I was a player back a million years ago.
Three won't stay down for Perkins.
Well, they're gang rebounders too, this Villanova team. Dante DiVincenzo hit that last shot. Well, he's got 9 points. He's got like 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's only played 11 minutes because of foul trouble.
Still to come tonight, Syracuse and Connecticut. Sounds like an old Big East game, although neither one of them is still in that conference. But of course, both programs very, very familiar here with Madison Square Garden, and looking forward to seeing that rivalry renewed. Coming up between games, it's College Game Day, covered by State Farm. As we'll look ahead to game 2, a lot of orange in the house, a lot of Husky fans here as well. And we will also hear Jim Valvano's inspirational speech from the 1993 ESPYs.
Just can't wait to see what defense Jim Boeheim's going to come out with in the game against UConn.
Maybe a 1-3-1.
There's a lot of intrigue.
Yeah. Let's bring in Holly Rowe.
Well, Jim Boeheim, we just interviewed him during halftime. We'll play that for you in game day. But one of the things he told me is that because he's one of the old guys, or old coaches, he called himself, that actually remember playing and coaching against Jimmy V. He said it is just such an honor to be playing in this game tonight. He's very passionate about cancer causes with he and his wife's foundation, the Jim and Julie Boeheim Foundation. So just really cool that he is one of those coaches who remembers Coach Jimmy V. And he said this is just an honor to be here tonight.
Absolutely. Jim Boeheim, a cancer survivor himself. 19-point lead. Villanova, less than 2 minutes to go here in the first game at the Jimmy V Classic, presented by Corona. Runs a little Euro step, feeds Pascal. And that was an easy run. Yeah, DiVincenzo got that left arm out there, and he's fouled out of the game. Did what he could in the minutes he had, but there weren't enough minutes for DiVincenzo tonight because of the fouls.
He's a terrific player. I'm a big fan of Dante DiVincenzo's. I just wish his name was Jeff Jones.
I thought you did beautifully on Shimmick Karnowski over the last few years.
Yeah, but look how many years it took you to get it down. Boy, Phil Booth had a great game. And he's only going to get better. And he's still knocking a little bit of rust off from being out all last season with an injury.
Hachimura with a shot fake, the drive, and the finish. That's what he can do.
Well, but his coaches will tell you that, you know, it's too often that he makes plays like that when the game's decided.
Yep.
And he's a young player, and a young player that has not played a ton of basketball in his life. He's going to be really good, but he's got to keep plugging.
This is a pretty impressive win for Villanova against a really good Gonzaga team, but the Wildcats really in charge for just about the entire game tonight. Nice move inside by Cosby Roundtree.
Cosby Roundtree didn't score in the battle for Atlantis. Played 33 minutes, didn't score, but he's going to be a good player. They really need some more production out of him, and be able to play with these older guys. He defends, rebounds, runs the floor. There's some good things for him this year.
Career high in points now for Zach Norvell Jr., but it'll come at a losing cause. Gillespie getting a chance at the point here in the last couple of minutes of this game for the Wildcats.
Gillespie's been compared to Ryan Arcidiacono a little bit.
Jones with a steal and lost it out of bounds. Yet another turnover. That's one of the stories of the night. Unfortunate for Mark Few and the Zags, but they just were not strong with the ball tonight.
Yeah, in the first half they had 12 turnovers, and some of them were offensive fouls, but they just dug a hole that was too deep to dig out of.
And Jay Wright will empty the bench. And the Villanova faithful with a nice ovation for their Wildcats. A very solid win for Villanova to go to 9-0 in the season with 31 seconds left in this one.
How about these guys getting to play in the Garden?
Yep.
That's cool.
Benny Grace is out there. Tim Delaney is out there. Who's going to take the shot? Tom Liebig is in the game. The walk-on's getting a chance here.
Jay Wright shaking his head. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. I'm gone. You kidding me? This is my shot. I'm on the world's greatest arena.
The guys behind us are yelling, "Put it up!" They're just going to put it down. And they'll turn it back over.
It's the quote-unquote right thing to do,
That's
but still. These guys do a tremendous job. Walk-ons all over the country. Every day in practice, scout team working their tails off.
What a win for the Wildcats. They beat Gonzaga 88-72, and Villanova remains undefeated. They go to 9-0 in the season with a convincing win over the Zags in the first game of the Jimmy V Classic tonight here at Madison Square Garden. We got another game coming, of course, Connecticut and Syracuse, but we saw, among other things tonight, Jay, we saw